What is up, amigos? Today we're talking about the armored body. We're going to be going through what it is and real life applicability of it. So the armored body has been around for quite a few decades and it is very important in the automotive aerodynamics industry. So what is it? Well, here's actually a few pictures showing some different views of it and what it looks like effectively. If we have a side view, we have effectively a rectangle that's been rounded a little bit on these corners. And then we can often have the back having a slant angle. So there's a horizontal, let's call this theta. And we have the ground here. So the reason why we use this armored body is because it effectively is a simplified car. And you might be looking at this and thinking, well, how car-like can the aerodynamics really be? I mean, we're missing the wheels, we don't have the radiator, there's no engine, no underbody, all this kind of stuff. Well, in reality, actually, the flow physics that come off of this is quite similar to the general flow physics from car. All the major properties are there. For example, we have this slant angle here, and this leads to, depending on the angle, these vortices coming off here. And if you don't know about these vortices, check out this video here where we go through why these vortices form on regular cars as well. And we also get at the back here, when the flow separates, we often get two regions of counter-rotating flow. And we see this in a lot of different over a lot of different cars. For example, in podcast 152, which we just released, we showed this happening here as well as in podcast 183. So check those podcasts out as well if you want to know more about that. So what is the real life applicability of this shape? Well, the great thing is, because this armored body is so simple, most researchers around the world can investigate this, which means we have such a large body of information about this, so we know how, for example, changing the slant angle will affect this drag. And when you actually plot the drag of this body, let's say we have the drag coefficient here, and we look at different slant angles here, and we can change different properties, we often get a very realistic drag curve. So we actually get something that looks like this, and then it goes up, and then we get this formation here, and then it comes back down here. So this point here is about 0.1 on the drag coefficient curve, and then we go up to about 0.3 here, 0.4, then this drops back down. So some properties that we want to talk about here is one, this sweet spot. This corresponds to a certain slant angle, and that's usually about 10 degrees. And we actually find that in real life for regular cars, this also occurs. So if we were to put the slant angle on a car about 10 degrees, we'll get around about this lowest drag coefficient for this general setup, with all else being equal. And once we get to a certain angle here, a very high angle, we actually get this popping formation. And if you don't know what this popping formation means, we're talking about these vortices here, and look at this video here where we cover what this means. And we get a sudden drop in the drag coefficient, and it starts to stay quite steady. It might increase a little bit over time, but it stays fairly steady. So these are very realistic drag properties here that we actually find on regular cars as well, which means that the armored body can be used to give us a general idea as to how sort of flow control devices, for example, if we put vortex generators up here, how that will create vortices and potentially keep the flow attached down this back window will affect the drag of this body plus cars. Also, if we round these corners more or less, how that affects the drag. And also the ride height. So when we put the car lower to the ground or further away, which we've covered in other videos such as this one here, they all hold very closely the relationships between the aerodynamics that we find on the armored body and the aerodynamics we find on regular cars. So that is what an armored body is and why it is important. So if you like this video, make sure to like it and click subscribe so you see more like this. And if you want to learn more about automotive aerodynamics, in particular motorsports, check out a course by JKF in the link in the description. If you like this theoretical point of view, as well as the application, they do a lot of that as well in their course, and it's really nice. And I'll see you next video. Peace out, amigos.